The Vineland Research and Innovation Centre, in partnership with the MTO, have created a project called Greening the Canadian Landscape.
This is a project that was started really as an initiative between the Ministry of Transportation in Ontario and Landscape Ontario, so the growers group and the landscape contractors, as well as Vineland. And it's a really interesting project because what we're really looking at is just getting trees to survive in areas that they're not surviving well. So ultimately the goal is just to get trees to survive and establish in basically harsh conditions. What we've been looking at for a few years now is actually tracking what environmental conditions are actually causing tree mortality. And we're finding that there's a lot of different things happening at highway sites, so we're not saying that salt's not a factor in some cases or pollution or things like that. But ultimately, the soil is the driving factor. So we have basically poor quality soils that we try to plant trees into, and then we don't maintain them. So at these sites, we have really high compaction, we have low organic matter, and ultimately we have really low infiltration of water. So that's what we're looking at to remediate here.
The project is slated to run for 5 years and includes multiple planting techniques.
This is an experimental plot, and we have a few different beds here. So what we're looking at is how we can actually prepare these sites in a way that's ecologically and economically feasible. So at one plot we have deep ripping happening, so we're ripping our soils to a depth of 36 inches, and then we're putting compost back into them. So we're putting compost into beds at a rate of 50% organic matter, a rate of 25% organic matter, and a rate of 10% organic matter. And then we have soils that basically we've just ripped, so sort of cultivated the soil but not added anything in. And then we have two plots that we call sort of our business as usual. So we're digging planting holes in one and we're not putting anything in, and then in the other we're adding compost back into the planting hole. What we really want to know is where we can go with soil remediation. So we suspect, or we hypothesize, that in the prepared soils that we've ripped and we've added organic matter back into, that our survival and our growth should be the best in those areas. You're going to have better moisture retention in those soils, and basically you're going to have better infiltration. We recognize that probably 50% organic matter is going to be a lot to ask people to add back to a site, so we suspect that probably one of the lower rates of organic matter is going to add better organic cycling back into those sites, and you'll have good survival in all of those beds. We think that in the ones where we haven't really prepared the soil that we'll have high mortality rates, because that's what we're doing now basically.
To find out more about the Greening the Canadian Landscape program, visit vinelandresearch.com. In Niagara, William Kelly, The Source.